The federal government is set to make it a criminal offense to make a statement denying the Holocaust took place or condoning or downplaying the killing of Jews by the Nazi regime, except in a private conversation.
Oh my goodness. So what is this again?
So at the very end, they kind of qualify it in saying, if you're having a private conversation about it, you can still say these terrible things.
Okay.
But they've enacted a bill that will swiftly change the criminal code, budget documents show. And the way they're going to change it is to outlaw Holocaust denial.
So if you say it publicly.
That's right. So they're warning against, MPs and anti-hate groups are warning against the rise of white supremacism and antisemitism. So those two things are being equated. Jewish Canadians comprise 1% of the Canadian population, yet are the target of 62% of all religiously motivated hate crimes. Vice President of the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs said, "We live in a time of rising anti-Semitism." That's not good news. The trend is upward. Remember we covered a story that out of the 10 hate crimes in all of Sudbury, was it 4 of them were...
You're right. Yeah, so it goes in line with their
almost the
statistics
62%
kind of thing, right?
statistic, yeah.
Like it's rising compared to what? 1940?
Actually, it could be in line because in this article they say 62% of religiously motivated hate crimes, not just hate crimes. So the 4 out of 10 for us could very well add up to 62% of the religiously motivated hate crimes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so it is specific to religion.
We live in a very tolerant, multicultural, diverse, whatever way you want to say it, country and region.
Yeah.
I personally don't see much room for people condoning hatred of certain religions or certain people. Maybe I have rose-colored glasses on. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe. But
this is the thing. I have issue with making anything illegal to say, right?
That's the thing.
Once you start making one thing illegal to say, now you go, well, how about this one too? And then how about that one? And then we both are familiar with Jewish law back in the day.
Sure.
They were synonymous of having many, 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 many rules.
Sure.
Religious rules. And they almost became impossible to live.
The laws, yeah.
So it's similar. I mean, if you were to look at the history, now there's many people out there who obviously don't want to have hate, but making rules, more rules than what we have. Like we already have hate speech laws in place, and if you say something, and you can then be charged, and or at least
those are already in place.
You can go to court, and you can be charged for that, and you have to face the consequences. So the more laws you have of what you can and cannot say, eventually, you get one and then the next one comes in. It's like cancel culture. Sure, yeah, everyone agreed to cancel one person, but then after that, how many other people were canceled? And now you might be canceled next. So it's a slippery slope. Just be cautious, I'm just saying, and just to be aware of that. And no matter what I'm saying here in Sudbury on this little Facebook Live, on this little Sudbury News network, it's really not going to make that much of an impact. But whoever's listening, something to keep in mind. You definitely, to outlaw your neighbor from saying something, they might then outlaw you to say your thing next. So you got to just, once you start down that road, there's possibly no coming back from it. Yeah, just my
Well, it's interesting. I was in a class yesterday, Laurentian class, and we were talking about political kind of activism, making a difference. How can we make a difference if we're only one vote?
For sure.
And I thought it was ironic. We've gone through an entire semester talking about these issues, and one of the girls in the class, and I think it's totally correct, her thinking was, how much of a difference is one vote really going to make? My one vote going to make?
Sure.
And the counterpoint to that was, well, enough people get behind an idea, it becomes, one drop becomes 2.
Sure.
Exponentially grows, you can start a whole movement. So the idea behind a law like this is prevent that movement from happening. Mm-hmm. The individual drops may exist where they do, but they won't be able to combine because free speech, will prevent them or the idea of limited speech will prevent them from saying
sure.
what they really feel in public, and then, it turning into something else. But what I thought was really interesting was implicit in this assumption of, I only have one vote, I can't make a difference. And she also added on, I'm not in a position of power to make decisions like this. And that kind of got me thinking, but you are.
Yeah, with your vote.
Like, a vote is a position of power.
That is
you have the same power as politicians,
yeah.
really, because they only have one vote, really, and they represent us.
Definitely.
So when something like this happens, I have to wonder, is this really what we want to be representing us?
No, I hear you 100%.
Or is this just a very skewed view? Because, like, I was thinking when you were talking about the free speech thing, I was thinking, I don't live in Toronto. I don't see demonstrations of racist, people. I don't see like these terrible things that maybe they're basing these laws on. We don't, like we were saying, there's single digits of incidents. And these are not murders. These are hate crimes of all kinds. So to us, it's like, that seems like a pretty small price to pay for free speech.
Yeah. That was a question I had. So there's a percentage there's 60-some% out of all religious hate crimes were geared towards one people.
Very small
group.
Minority.
But how many hate crimes were there, religious hate crimes? Does it say that in the article? Because if we're talking 5 hate crimes and 3 out of the 5,
that's
we're going to make a
the
whole
magnitude
law,
we're talking
and we're
about.
going to make a whole law that you can never say something.
But the scary part is one of the proponents, one of the MPs, was suggesting a 2-year prison sentence.
Interesting.
For this, so they say they haven't come up with a penalty for it yet, and that's the scary part. They could say, we're just going to pass this in name only, similar to a few years ago. There was trans rights were the big topic in around 2016, 2017. That's when Jordan Peterson got really popular for opposing,
for sure,
bill. I think it was C-13. And this to me should be as big of news as that was.
Yes.